Hey,
Hello, can we hear me?
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I only had to take a month off from teaching to be able to schedule with you,
I know.
which it's been a good month. I won't lie. It's been
That's
good.
good. So, how long have you been off? Like, when did you start this hiatus?
I like to refer to it as a sabbatical. I am researching my sanity.
Okay.
Um, and I started it at the beginning of August 2021. And I'm making it a tradition now because
Yes.
you've got little people and you have quite a few little people running around in your house. And that last month of summer, they are
Going
so
crazy.
bored and it's hot. And now with like COVID, there's not a lot of options of places to take them to do things. So
Hmm.
I'm like, why? I should just take a month off so I can take him to the beach and go to Busch Gardens and do all those things that are actually really physically exhausting. I have figured out. Like I'm actually very tired in a different way.
Yes. I'm not sure. Are your headphones on? Because it sounds like you're just. I don't know if it's picking up if it's just in the room.
Yeah, they are. They're my Samsung buds. Is it echoey?
It's a little echoey. Yeah. It's actually pretty loud
Well,
too.
they're loud. Ooh. I can take them off and just talk to you if you like.
No, no, it's fine. I can hear you fine. It's just. I think we're good.
Okay.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah. So my kids are older. My guys are like 18, 17, 15, 14.
yeah, well, they were once little, and
Yes.
and you know, and you know. Have you caught my Monday mumbles yesterday talking about being
Yes.
a beach Sherpa when you have to take all the things with you to the beach, lug it there, unpack it, repack it, take it, like, oh, so much, so much. But fun times, good memories, fun times. But
Absolutely. How old
I
are your kids now?
wrestled. Mine are, one's about to turn 14, and then my youngest is 10.
Nice. Well, they're fun
So,
ages.
yes, yes, puberty, meat. But I started this tradition not only for the kids, but also for myself. I'm so tired and run down by the end of the summer that I need the break so I can do the marathon of September to December, which is a very busy season for me. And you
Mm.
were talking earlier about having, business acumen in teacher training. And that's one thing I wish that somebody had taught me early on instead of me figuring it out is that there's,
Seasons.
there's seasons and
Flows. Yeah.
and it flows. And if you can you can actually build your off time into those low times. You can
Yes.
build things into those high times that give you the income to cover the low times. Like
Well said.
figuring that out is huge in keeping your sanity and keeping your time to yourself.
Absolutely. And when I was teaching like a personal training onboarding course for a big box gym, I shared that with them that, you take the summer, and for those of you that this works for you, great, go for it. Take the summer to almost like it's like you're building a building. Take the summer to dig and lay your foundation. September to
Hmm.
December, you're building because people are coming back from their cottages and they're like, I can't believe how much we've
Right?
gained over the summer. Let me just get this going. Around October, I give them like it's time to dial it in because Christmas is coming and you're gonna have your Christmas parties and stuff. So if you're not locked in by October, you're gonna hate yourself in December. And then December comes, tapers off, and then January till March break, I don't come up for air. I don't say yes to any social
Right.
events. I just
Right.
grind till October till March break, take March break off with the kids if I can, and then ramp it up until the summer, and then set up
Right.
for athletes to come back in the summer, a little bit lighter schedule, and then rinse and repeat.
That is like this is literally exactly what it is. That is exactly
Yes.
what it is.
Right.
I also work around the kids' activity schedule. They one's a dancer, they both play soccer, one's a musician. So it's like when are their seasons, when are their tournaments?
Yes.
Because,
Right.
you know, I'm not available for that. So it's like I can see in my calendar where my breaks are, and I put that against what's going on at the studio.
Yes.
And that's it's taken me basically to like now to really
You were today years old when
I was today years old when I was really like, if you just sit down for an hour and think about what happens in the month between the studio and the house and what I want to achieve, there's a way to kind of move it all around to get it done.
yes.
But there are definitely there are definitely projects that I come up with and I have to be like, girl, that's a 2030 project. Wait.
Yes. The reason why I said that cadence too is because I know you and I have never talked about it. We're in two different countries, but we're on the same circadian, same cycle of how we do things, because that's just the industry flow, right? Like, so
it is.
Yeah.
It is the industry flow. It's Pilates, it's wellness, it's fitness. And Christmas is one. You were so right to say, like get them really into a routine by October, because once November 1st comes around, their brains shift.
Yes.
And you don't get them back until after the new year.
Right. Even if they show up, you don't have them until the new year.
You don't get them. No. And like even when I got a lot of questions of people asking me, are you scared that when you take off August that your clients will come back? And like, I won't lie, I was a little worried about it for like a minute. And then when I like opened up the spreadsheet things, which I hate a spreadsheet, like, I'd rather have a notebook full of Post-its. But spreadsheet, August is a very low traffic month because everybody's traveling and getting kids back to school and doing things. And I was like, wait a minute, they're just as busy.
Right.
And yeah, so I'm not that worried about it. And now I figured out how to also train them for the fact that I'm going to be taking August off.
You all are listening to someone who owns a studio, has a teacher training program, speaks at conferences, and she just finished saying how much she hates spreadsheets. She's taking time off. She's worried about this. That's a real talk. I think in social media, we just see polished pictures and teacher trains and think if someone's making a lot of money, they got everything together, their family's happy, and everything is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely have breakdowns, and it's definitely a hustle. Like it's a hustle. It's such a hustle, and especially so I've taught online for at least like the last 5 or 6 years before COVID. I just had clients that moved away, and I figured out Skype and Zoom and figured all that out. And then COVID was like, now double down on being online,
yes.
right? Like, let's do this. But it also really opened up a whole new pathway of goals for me, because I got really, really burnt out, like somewhere around Christmas.
Explain what burnout looks like for you, because that looks different for everybody.
Burnout for me is I have a high anxiety, and albeit I am going and I'm going and I'm going and I'm going, I have no joy. My husband is just like, oh, look at you. You're all grumpy again. And it's because I'm just constantly thinking and thinking and thinking. And my burnout causes me to actually double down in this horrible psychological habit of saying to myself, well, it ain't going to get done unless you do it. Right? Like, and it's the thing that, I've always done to myself. It's like, well, it doesn't matter. Things are always going to be hard. There's always going to be something. So keep on going. And when I finally hit a wall, I have to drop it all. And that is when I start getting very behind, because I've just let go. Right. And figuring out in the today years old that I can actually plan for these ups and downs instead of just going full force all the time.
Right.
And accepting that, when it's when the kids have a whole bunch of stuff going on, whether it's their activities or even their personal lives, because COVID really hit them hard. Every child
Mm,
suffered with it in some way, and having to deal with their developing psyche and the fact that there was no way to really get their emotions out.
right.
Ooh, right? And trying to be able to have enough energy to handle that. When I get burnt out, I don't have the energy for that. And then the entire house
Capacity.
suffers,
Yeah, right.
right?
It's
And
all about
like,
capacity, really, right? Like,
it really is. Like, there's only so much your bandwidth goes.
yes, yes.
And then you will have a crash and your body you'll get sick,
Hmm.
you'll, all of a sudden you're sleeping. Depression will set in. That is, God, that's real, right?
Yeah,
And a lot of times it's really because your body is saying you need to break and you do need to
yes.
stop and you need to give yourself for that. So I'm really trying to plan for things,
Good.
and
Yeah.
it's for a better work, and one of them is
Sorry,
schedule your
you cut out
self-care
there.
time.
Oh,
Because like every time I schedule self-care time, someone comes in the room and asks me,
yep. Self-care
but
time
I
gets interrupted.
all the time, all the time, all the time. Like even scheduling a workout, I can schedule a workout, and then somebody comes in and says so and and it's tough. It really is. But
Yeah.
taking this time off has made me ooze ah. If I can make it till this time next year with this effective plan, I feel like I've really figured it out.
Yeah, exactly. Bendy, Mindy Ply is saying, yes, I just took a week off for my mental health. Yeah, yeah, I'm there.
Okay. All right, there we
So
are.
yeah, so
Okay.
the comment is that I just took Bendy Mindy Ply is saying, yes, I just took a week off for my mental health, and I've said this in the past too. I love my work. I'm challenged in my work. You're spooling again there.
Yeah, it
You back?
looks like you're cutting out on me.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, no, I see yours just like spooling there. Okay. Anyway, so
Interesting.
what I was saying is that yeah, because I love my work and I like what I'm doing. It's so easy to get in the trap of just continuing to work and not being proactive about your vacation time before you need it, right? Like, I mean, like we do it, but then if we don't take the time and schedule the time proactively, by the time we do it reactively, even then that robs you of your vacation time because it takes you 3 days to decompress and then like 2 days to look around and then 2 more days you're dreading going back and that sort of thing.
When you do take your time off, you need to be able to really be present with the people
Be
that
present.
you
Yep.
care about and that really are.
It's weird. Are you there now?
Yes, but I have to take my earbuds out. Might be the problem. All right, are you there with me?
I am. Yes, it's
All
clear
right, cool.
actually. Yeah.
Sorry. See, all the technology in all the world, and it's better to just not use it.
Hmm. I was
Suck.
saying just on a sidebar this morning with my clients how like my dad gave me a subscription to like Road and Track magazine. So getting like a physical magazine mailed to my house, you could open and turn the pages. There's something tactile about that, like not looking up every 2 minutes and swiping left or swiping right or whatever it is that you do. Paper, tactile, like there's something about just coming back to some of those old school things, just keeping things
Yeah.
simple. It's been so It's like self-care for me to sit down and actually read a magazine from cover to cover.
Yeah, and I watch that with my kids too, whenever they're presented with something that's new and they can't figure it out. And I say to them, put your phone away, read the directions that came in the box, and then if those are in a language you don't understand,
Yes.
figure it out and put it together. Like you can still figure it out. And to be
Yes.
that tactile with things because for them, like my kids don't even since COVID, like even reading has become so digital for them that over the summer I said to them, no, we're going to have books. You're going to have
Yes.
actual books. We're going to go to the library and you're going to get actual books. Okay. Um, but for them to be tactile and figuring things out is something that I see generally generationally is a big difference between us and them. Because I mean,
Mhm.
Atari did not come with directions. And none of the things that yeah, right? You know I'm right.
It's
You know
true.
I'm right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like all that original Nintendo, and everybody figured out if you do A, B, 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 A, you blow up.
Yes.
Right?
True.
And
Yeah.
to return to that for them, well, it's not really returning because they're just experiencing it. Like we try to make sure that they have those experiences where we're like, well, you're just gonna go have to figure it out. Right.
Yeah. Exactly. And if you fail, you fail. It's not the end of the
Right.
world.
Which is a lesson in life. I've and in business, not everything's
Mhm.
gonna work out all the time. And what you were saying also earlier about the fact that congratulations, all you Pilates teachers, you're really salesmen and saleswomen and salespeople.
Mhm.
It's absolutely true. We are selling a service to which can be viewed as almost a luxury service to a lot of people.
Mhm.
And we're selling ourselves and our ability to do that. And I wish I had taken a marketing course or four in college. I really wish I had. It would have really helped.
What would be your topics in your marketing course if you were to run one today?
If I were to run a marketing course for Pilates
What
instructors
would
today,
be chapter one, module one?
chapter one, module one, the way you were trained in your teacher training program to teach is not the way your clients necessarily want to be taught. Boom.
How about
Uh,
we hang out here for a minute?
yeah, let's hang out here for a minute.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. For the record, I just lean back because I know we're not going anywhere.
you're like, let's unpack this right here.
Right
Uh,
here.
it's it's part of my in training my apprentices and my teachers as they get towards the end of the program. I say, you know, if you're doing a great job showing me you understand Pilates and you can do Pilates and you can speak Pilates, but can
You've
you?
memorized Pilates.
Yeah, and you've memorized it, you've done the things, and I know from your written test that you know the thing. All right. But then I'm like, you know, if I give you this body that doesn't know the language, how are you actually going to teach to that body and sell yourself in a way that you retain that business? So, and the end of my program, and I've brought teachers to the brink because I during their evals, I'm just like, go back there and get me that C curve and that stomach massage. Go back there and get what you were asking for in those shoulders. Go back and get what you want and teach to that body and make them feel it. Um, I feel like that is a part of teacher training that gets overlooked a lot because it can be so focused on the individual trainee and their ability to perform Pilates down to being able to physically perform it, verbally
Yes.
perform it,
Yes.
and the way their school or method is teaching them to cue. Um, even, I mean, I know some schools that are so specific about where you stand on next to the reformer when the client's doing this or that. And it's like, that's not necessarily what the body needs in front of you. And the only thing that builds that confidence to know how to do that is to teach and to keep teaching.
Yes.
That would
Right.
be the first thing. And then the second thing would be Your professional persona is yours. It's not your teaching style. These are two different things. Teaching style
Okay.
and personal persona are two different things.
Right.
But your personal persona is what draws clients to you
Right.
and what keeps them coming back. Your teaching style is what makes them grow and makes them change. And when your clients change and your clients grow, your clients are learning, then they get keeps what can I do next? What can I do next? And then they keep coming back to the persona that helps them get there.
Makes sense. Does that tie
That is,
into like their goals and just like why they show up? Because like the first thing that came to mind for me is I have a client, my second client ever as personal training is now my main Pilates client. So I've had her since 2003. And she came with one set of goals, and we're forever reevaluating what those goals are
mhm.
because over time it's like, okay, we've gotten here. What do we need to do now? Okay, we've got here. What do we need to do now? So there's there's the teaching style, there's the persona, and then all those things together are what keep us on this fitness journey as opposed to showing up 10 sessions and then leave.
Right, right. Showing up 10 sessions and leave, or showing up to the free class and then your discounted punch pass and then you're done.
Right.
That happens a lot. That happens a lot. And what as as a teacher trainer and as a business owner, one thing I've always noticed in studios that I worked in that were successful versus studios I worked in, and by successful, I don't just mean that they make good money. I
Mm-hmm.
mean that their teachers are and that their
That's
teachers want to stay.
yes. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. When I say successful business, I don't just mean that like the owners are like, whoopee. No, that
Mm-hmm.
like there's a longevity. There's the teachers feel like they're invested not only in themselves, but in what's going on inside the walls of that business.
Yes.
Um, and the studios that were successful, the owners I always noticed had a they were unforgiving about the quality of instruction that would be delivered to their clientele. And they knew who their clientele were.
I'm
They
working for
didn't
my pen.
they
Yes.
didn't just let people in and out of their space all the time. Like they knew what their clientele was. And then in
Yes.
studios that weren't so successful, teachers unhappy. The owner might be making great money, but they have
Mm-hmm.
this huge turnover rate of teachers because the
Yep.
teachers don't feel like they're part of the community. They don't feel like
Right.
they're invested in,
Mm-hmm.
or they can invest in the business.
Or they have
Um,
expression, their own expression within there.
right,
Mm-hmm.
right,
Mm-hmm.
or and it's I when I said to myself, okay, I'm going to open a studio, I said I'm definitely not going to sacrifice the quality of the instruction that gets delivered to my clientele. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm also going to make sure that the teachers that I have a way to grow themselves in any way and avenue they want to,
Yes.
uh, and make sure that I'm always pulling us together as a community. That's what actually started my F-Bomb Friday workshop classes
Yes.
because so and we have a staff meeting once a month where we sit down and like we have to figure this out.
Yes.
And then we have a workout. We have two workouts on Fridays, and then one Friday I'll film a workshop.
Okay.
And it's on like a 4 to 6 week pattern that we do that. So I make sure that we're always moving together. We're talking about the clientele that we share. In my studio, I've made it almost impossible for when a teacher has to be out on vacation or they're sick or a teacher's not there. I've made it very hard for clients to say, well, I won't come from a
Jennifer's, yeah,
session.
because so and so's away. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
No,
I'm
you're still
like,
part of the community.
no, you're going to come. We can join you in this group. Like, we're going to figure a way to pull them in, even in
Yes.
me being off. My clients that are still in the studio are still going. They're still going. My
Mm-hmm.
clients that are still in town are still getting sessions.
Yes.
And I have a fantastic teaching staff that I'm looking to grow if anybody's in Richmond. But, I make sure that we talk and that we communicate and that the clients actually see us communicating as well.
Right.
Because so that the clients know that they're not just, another profile in our booking system.
Mm-hmm.
And we do keep soap notes on clients that we share. I'd like to say we keep soap notes on everyone, but God, writing notes.
It's a valiant effort.
It makes me so happy I'm not an actual physical therapist, because last time I was actually in physical therapy and I was watching the DPT write out notes, I was like, how much of your day would you actually say you spend doing notes versus actually working with patients? And he was like, oh, like more than half. And I was like, that's not why you became a physical therapist, is it? He's like, nope, I hate it. And I'm like, well, gotta code that insurance. So
I got a teacher training notes. Program for you.
I'm like, yeah, but yeah. So, and when you were talking about all that business acumen things, I was like, wow, actually, in all the studios I've worked in, working as staff, as contractor, I picked up everything about how to run my business, both from observing businesses I admired and businesses I could not wait to get the hell out of.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And so I say, like with parenting, there's some things that are more caught than taught, right? Like they could teach you things, but then you're seeing certain things and you're like, all right, I'm taking note of that. All right, that was really good. Wow, that was great. I need that. Oh, definitely not doing that. Like, you know what I mean? And you go through that with, yeah.
Yeah. One of us, somebody should write a book about this.
I've thought about it, from a personal training perspective. Myself and one of my colleagues, we actually thought about doing that. And then we were like, no one's going to read it. Like, no one cares. They actually, everyone thinks that they're doing it right. The people that you're preaching to the choir.
I'm going to call you out on that imposter syndrome right there, where you're like, oh, who's going to read this? Who's no. And I'm going to make, like, anytime I start doing this to myself, I do it all the time. I literally sit down and start watching infomercials. Because it reminds me that you can, there are people out there who want a army grade razor that shaves underwater. There are people out there.
Tack flashlight as opposed to a.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. True. Yeah, I wasn't saying it from an imposter syndrome. Like, I don't believe that I'm like my content isn't worthy of being read. I'm saying I'm preaching to the choir. The people who will read it are people who don't need to read it, and the people who think they got it together, who really need to read it, aren't gonna read it. And I'm like, I want to be heard when I speak, so I'm not gonna waste my breath on someone who is.
I think you underestimate how many people actually don't got it.
But think that they do?
Yeah. And one of my favorite things as a dancer and a performer is, you know what? Sometimes you got to fake it to make it, right? And there are people out there who are like secretly going home and tearing their hair out because they're like, I have no idea if I'm doing this right or not.
Yes.
Like what you're saying about social media. Like we can put up this whole, but then behind the scenes, you're like, holy shit.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think you're definitely underestimating how many people would be interested in that. And it's something I have to catch myself doing to myself frequently, because that's why I say it. Like, I'll watch infomercials and be like, are you serious? Like, you have to have a special little thing to put an egg in to microwave your egg in the microwave? People buy that.
I can't say anything about it. As a fitness model for a shopping channel, I'm in the background while they're pitching some things sometimes. And I'm like, you sold 30,000 of those in 24 hours?
Right? And it's like, if you have
just made $250,000 in a weekend? What?
Home shopping channel is another one that I'll turn on every now and then and be like, are you kidding me? And then I'm like, I'm so gonna go write that course.
Yep.
Right. And that is part of this is part of the new journey that I'm embarking on because I have very much, like I said, changed my in-game end goals. Um, when in 2030, my youngest will go to college, I will turn a number with a zero at the end of it. And
20?
again,
30?
and I thought to myself, well, that's when like all of a sudden all of this like up and down I've been doing is actually going to start to the waves are going to get a little lower.
Mm, yeah.
And I'm like, hmm, well, what am I going to want to do? And I realized that the burnout of having to maintain brick and mortar studio,
Hmm.
online studio, take care of the kid, take care of the house, the wife, miss is. I realized I was like, I don't think I want to run brick and mortar once
Hmm.
I have those ripples, but I don't want to lose my income. So I'm learning this whole new way of sales
Yes.
and this whole new formula of sales for all the online things because it's a very different thing to sell our service in person to someone
Yes. Right, right,
than
right.
to sell our services one to many on a huge
Hmm.
scale. And
Right.
that is yet another reason I went to marketing school. But even if I had, would it have helped? Because it would have been like online sales weren't a thing when I was in college, not like they are now.
No. But the principles, regardless, like there's principles that you've learned through your school of hard knocks that translate to everything,
Right. Right.
right?
And
Yeah.
holding on to those. And that also gets you out of those really, really, really like low places when you are like, when something's happened at a studio and you finally have said, no more,
Mhm.
and you walk, or you been let go of the studio because you didn't quite fit in. Yeah, I was actually fired once with that exact statement. I didn't quite fit in, and I was like, "It's cool. I didn't want to sit at your table anyway." Um,
Hmm.
but to what's always gotten me out of those moments is to like take a deep breath, get really
Yes.
angry, maybe have a glass of wine, and then be like, okay, no, I did learn something. There's
Yes.
something I can take away from this, good, bad, whatever. There's something I can take away and put in my back pocket and use for good, for my own
Yes.
personal good.
Right.
And that
That's
has been
maturity. Hand waving. Yes.
like, yeah,
Whatever that meant. Yes. Yeah.
because I know Mindy, I know she's done this too, right? Right? Um, and I think we've all had those. We definitely have all had all those experiences that didn't go well.
For
And if you sit
sure.
and ruminate on the negative of it instead of taking something away, then you're only
Yeah.
prolonging how long it will take for you to bounce back.
Well, yeah, it's funny that for me, I'm not gonna say it's a trigger, but that like sparked a memory for me, and I come back fierce out of those moments. Some people wallow, but I
Hmm.
come back, and not in like I won't say it's not necessarily a bad way or a good way, but like if I was demoted because of this, I'm like, I'm gonna prove to you that I can do this without you. I'm like, I just like lock in and just get it done. Like, take no prisoners, get it done, and then level back off to that warm fuzzy Martin after I've been at like cutthroat Martin for a minute to get back to this level. So it's weird how you go through these things. And it's funny that ties into what I was the conversation yesterday about, do we prove ourselves or do we express ourselves? Champions express themselves,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Whereas where I'm in a new venture or in a place where I've been rejected and have to come back up, I'm proving myself, proving myself, proving myself. And then after I'm like, I don't care what you think. I'm just like gonna be me and do this and express myself unapologetically who I am and just do that. And that's gonna get me to that place of prosperity, whatever that looks like for that situation, as opposed to living to prove to the last person that I was good enough when you let
Yes.
me go for that thing.
Yes. And there is so much, like you said, like in maturity and growing into that. Like, and I will. I will say there was just like there was no definite day and a definite age mark where like I woke up and I was like, oh yeah, I'm too old for bullshit, you know, like and there was a definite moment and I said, no, I have all the credentials and all the clout to be able to stand on
Hmm.
my 2 feet and say, oh no, this is how I do it. I'm here.
Yes.
But it was definitely a maturing to get to that. And I won't say that I didn't have a lot of that moxie when I was younger in my actual 20s the first time. And
But there's a layer of maturity to it now.
right now I know how to like keep my actual mouth shut instead of letting it fly out of my mouth.
Some call that wisdom. That's
Yeah,
fine.
right. Maturity, coming of age, right.
Hmm.
And being able and the power of saying no gracefully,
Yes.
right? You know, saying no gracefully because it's there's many ways to say no.
Hmm.
But it's one thing that I see in young teachers that I wish didn't take them so long to grow into because I have met so many young teachers that are very good at what they do, but have
Yes.
very little confidence. And it's one because of experience, and not having that experience is because of their age.
Right.
And when I mentor to younger teachers, I always say to them, no matter what, no matter if the person you're teaching is 35 years older than you know more about what's going on in that room
Yes.
than they
This
do,
little right.
right?
Right.
For that moment, like you are the boss. And
You're
the
the
more you
authority.
teach, you will develop your teaching style and you'll develop your persona. But I wish that more programs gave teachers that confidence at the end. Like you finish this
Hmm.
great Pilates teacher that can do great Pilates, but that instilling of confidence into them to really walk into a room and say, I don't care that you're all 25 years older than me.
Yes. Right.
This how we gonna do this today.
Thank you. Two thoughts on that because that's I agree with that totally. Two thoughts on that. One, when I have stepped into a room with like pro basketball players, and you're intimidated by their height,
Mhm.
their fitness level, their net worth, and there's you want to shrink away for a second, and then you remember that you know something they don't know. You're
Right.
in the room for a reason. So
Yes.
they can have all the things going for them except for this. I now have what you need. Let's go.
Yes, yes. And it's like I know more about your feet than you do.
Yes. Yes. And my second thought with that, because that's so true, my second thought of that too was like going into a teacher training program for myself, not as like an older person per se, but I had like 15 years of Pilates, of personal training under my belt first. So I'm in the fitness industry, I'm teaching in the fitness industry, and now I'm learning a new language. And what happens sometimes is that people get treated like they are new to movement when they're just new to Pilates.
Hmm.
So there's times I had to remind people, okay, yeah, I'm a rookie with Pilates, but I'm not rookie to fitness. I know how to
Right,
teach, I know how to communicate. So I'm learning a language right now. I'm not learning an industry.
right,
And a lot of
right.
times, everyone learning Pilates gets lumped into this bucket of you're learning, you're a new teacher, you're a new fitness person, you're a new whatever. And they're almost like relegated to this lower step because all they what they don't know is Pilates, but what they do know is communication, connection, building relationship, fitness, movement, anatomy, fill in the blank with T-Rex, whatever it is,
Yeah,
kettlebells, whatever.
yeah,
Like you can have 9 different languages, but if you don't have this one Pilates language, you're a lesser person.
yeah, yeah. And we all know that is a stigma that follows this industry. That I wish it was not a thing, but we have to call it what it is, and it's there, and
this elitist thing. And it's something that I've been really actually struggling with in my own brand of teacher training and my own studio brand and all of this. And I am trying so very hard to get away from using terms of classical and contemporary. I'm trying to get so far away from it. Because like you said, and this is exactly where I'm taking it, it's a language. It's another language of movement. And in that language, like any language, you cannot build your skills in a language unless you have your nouns and your adjectives and your verbs, right? And then you learn how to put it all together. So this war of what is classical and what is contemporary just bugs the, like, ooh, and then what is Pilates versus what is not Pilates. So I'm really trying to build programming that is about the language of Pilates, and then how you can write anything you want. You know, you have to be able to actually turn that language into a novel for the client in front of you, their own personal little Pilates novel, right? Where anybody could pick it up and be like, oh, okay, yeah, this is Pilates, cool. Beautiful. But it's not going to be the same Pilates as this over here and that over there, because you are selling the service and teaching to people. Yes, and that's when looking into hire people, that's one of the biggest challenges, is that I see a lot of new teachers come from programs that have taught them how to memorize the Pilates, but not really use the language of it. And that's very hard. Like, you can come from a completely different training program and training style than I have come from, but if we cannot coerce together about the exercises, then what are we doing?
and what chance does the client have, right? Like,
right. What chance does the client have? And then it starts to set up, well, then the client only wants to take with this teacher and that teacher and not this one and not that one.
And then full circle, that goes back to like, and then when that client goes away on vacation, then that client goes away, and you never really achieve building community around your space.
Right. And I do want to be specific that when I say the language of Pilates, I don't mean the names of the exercises.
No.
I don't care what somebody calls shoulder bridge or stomach massage. Like, okay, you can call it peanut butter and jelly. I don't care. But when I go to you and I'm like, can we talk about the position of peanut butter and jelly? If we can't have the same conversation.
Yes. Or explain your whys at least.
Yeah, right? It's something that it was really instilled in me in grad school when I was going to grad school for dance. It was about like the third month of grad school, and I was in one of those capstone classes that you have to take. And when you go to heavy academic programs for dance, people don't really realize that what you're studying is movement theory. I have studied the movement theory of a lot of different choreographers and innovators of movement that now today people call functional movement.
Right.
And a lot of functional movement, I'm like, it's modern dance. And I can tell you exactly which style of modern dance it is. Right? But, you put dance on it, it gets flighty. You put, functional movement training or, schematics. Yeah, I got you, Michelle. Right? So, like, you could, to us, it was about where is your body in space and your interaction with space. And that's what also drew me to Pilates. But in grad school, it was about the third month of grad school, and I was in one of those classes. And I don't know what I was presenting on, but the teacher just kept asking me why. And I stopped in the middle of the presentation, and I looked at her, and I was like, is the rest of my 60 credits here literally going to be everyone asking me why and me having to justify it? And with a cold stare, she said, yes. I was like,
yeah.
Oh, okay then. Right?
Now we're on the same page.
Yeah, and that once I accepted that, grad school got like a lot easier because it was literally like, okay, like I actually learned all the things, and now you just want me to prove that I could justify all the things. Okie
Right.
dokie.
Yeah.
And that
That's how I approach teaching. Like, gotta be ready with your whys.
you got to be ready with your eyes because they're your clients are ready with the questions. Oh,
Right.
they are ready with the questions. They're either you either like, get the client that asks all the questions all the time and wants everything to be understood, and they want to understand everything on the micro level to the point where you're like, just move, shh, you'll figure it out, right?
Yes.
To the person who like never ever makes the face and gives you no reaction whatsoever, and they just keep going, right? And you're like,
Yes.
you in there?
Right.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Danica, I just love, as we've been talking, I don't know if those of you are in the crowd are watching this, but like, I can physically watch when you shift from mom on vacation to business owner. Like
Yeah,
like you
it's a
just,
fast switch.
it's a fast switch, but it's a brilliant switch. And I think that's what makes you special. And I even use the word elite in that way where when I use the word elite, I'm not like elitist like you're down here, but like there's eliteness to building community, defining success, making connections, connecting with your people, growing people, helping them to love movement. There's an elite, you're elite in that way. And I saw that second where we shifted and the conversation turned deep into this is what we do, this is how we do it, this is how we get people excited about it, this is what I want to happen in my space, and this is the kind of people that I'm looking for. Like that is special. I just want to just commend you for that. Like you really are elite. Yeah. Ah, these drama people.
But yeah, when you're a solopreneur, you gotta like be you got a lot of hats and you gotta be able to switch them quickly. And sometimes you'll put the wrong hat on by accident. And I mean, there you have to have your safeguards for yourself too, because sometimes I can just be like hat, switch, 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 and then at the end of the day, I got nothing, and my husband's like, so hey, we
Yes.
got like 10 minutes before you fall asleep. I'm like, no, you got like 4 minutes before I fall asleep.
I was even gonna say that too. I love the fact that you legit you said wifeness. Like you brought that in. Get people I know people are like and I know some of the people that we talk with, they're married and all stuff, and all they do is like, oh, we're the studio, the business, my kids, and I'm like, aren't you married? All right, it's cool.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
but that's a real also that's another pull. That's another place where
it
we
is.
have to be
When
present.
you have a partner and you have said, all right, we are partners, we're in this game, that is work. It
Yes.
is work. And I had a conversation with Tila about this on our IG, and it's like it's work, and both people have to put in equally
Hmm.
all the time. When the balance shifts and one's putting in more than the other one, it needs to be
Yes.
acknowledged that, like, hey, I need you to help me pick up slack here. I
Yes.
need to lean on you for this. Because when you don't acknowledge it, then you start having resentment and anger and then the bickering and
And
then
bitterness and yeah, exactly.
right? Everything's copacetic when everybody's like on the same level. But the reality is, here comes the waves. And my
Hmm.
husband is a nursing home administrator, so he hasn't had waves. He's just had one huge tsunami for
Mm.
like almost 2 years.
2 years. Yes. Yeah, no, I feel you on that. And it's reciprocates, right? So like the way I say it is like I'm giving to you while you're giving to me, and then you're giving to me while I'm giving to you. And as long as we keep reciprocating this, everything keeps rolling,
Right,
right? And then as
right.
soon as one stops giving and the other keeps what I mean? Then it there becomes an imbalance, and then we have to communicate to get back on the same page. So kudos to you for acknowledging that and just even verbalizing here because that's real talk. Like everyone thinks it is polished and fuzzy, but no, like sometimes
Yeah.
that's it too,
It,
right?
and we were when we were sitting on the beach together. watching the children play in the water, but we were too busted to get in the water. You know, I looked at him and I was like, so you do know that like this is not a vacation.
This is a trip.
Yeah, I actually
Vacation.
he
Yes.
gets angry when I say this, but I'm like, when we go on a trip with the kids, I actually call it a business trip because it's the
Mm,
same shit in a different place, but it's very inconvenient.
right.
Very convenient, right? And if you take them out of the country, it's an executive business trip, right? Right? And it's a family adventure, and you're making memories, and it's great, and it's filled with love. But vacation to me involves a cabana and a cabana person and
Mhm.
someone asking me what I would like repeatedly throughout the day.
Not someone asking you to make lunch for them.
Right. So I I've made it very clear that we owe each other a vacation. He really needs one again. The tsunami of COVID. He's
Too funny. I could run another hour with you, Danica, but I gotta get this going. It's been so amazing chatting with you as always. I just love these little
been
chats,
great.
and you're
I
doing great
actually
work.
have an appointment to go get all the sand vacuumed out of my car because that's the life. It's just been great chatting with you. Thank you everyone
Thank
for joining.
Yes, love so much. Thank you so much. All right, sign you off. I'll send you the replay for this, and yeah, just keep doing what you do.
Wonderful. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.